What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and every Monday I go over my top 10 takeaways and lessons learned from the football that we just watched yesterday. It's low-key one of my favorite videos to make in season, just a lot of, sifting through what just happened, looking, reacting. It's fun. It's kind of open-ended. I can talk about whatever 10 things I want to talk about. So, we have a lot to get into. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste any more time. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm pretty cool. My nitty bag.
Now look, I put a little poll on the community tab. I deleted it after a little while, asking, should I go over the Jets? I don't want to be annoying. I don't want to be a homer. I don't want to be somebody you skip because I talk about the Jets too much, but I have to bask in the glory. I have to. We're 3-2. I got the jersey over there. I almost slept in it. I didn't want to take it off. The Jets get a huge win. I believe they win 27-10 on the road in Lambeau. Crazy stuff. Now, we're going to talk about the fantasy football side of things. My first takeaway is the Jets get a win, the good and the bad. Now, the good, we'll go over the good first, is Breece Hall might be a demigod. He's probably at this point, depends on who you ask, but he might be the RB1 in Dynasty, probably a top 5 to 10 running back rest of season in seasonal. He has surpassed my wildest dreams. He has been the focal point of an offense that has now won 3 straight as underdogs here. This is his second straight 100-yard or more yard from scrimmage game, his second straight 20-plus PPR point game. He has 5.1 yards per carry on the season. He's second in yards per out run among all running backs. He's RB8 in points per game, and he continues to take work from Carter, where a lot of guys were in my comments and my Twitter mentions telling me, hey, they just said Michael Carter's the RB1, and this was like the first week of August. Oh, Michael Carter's the RB1. Why would you draft Breece Hall? He's on the Jets, the same old Jets. The Jets suck. Well, how about now? How about now? The Jets are decent. Breece Hall's amazing. He's earning the workload, because that's the bet. The bet is with these rookies, yes, we have prospect models. Yes, we know they're going to be in this range of how good. But at the end of the day, these are all black boxes you're taking swings on in like rounds 4 and 5, and that's the perfect upside swing, because a guy like Breece Hall can come into the league and be, a top 10 running back, or he could suck, but we don't know that. And when we want to lean into upside in a range filled with guys like Ezekiel Elliott, I think that is the play. Now, I will also say, in terms of the running game, love LaFleur's play calling from a real-life perspective. Zach didn't have to dial it up at all. He didn't really have to throw the ball. They were playing against a team that couldn't stop the run, so I loved what LaFleur was doing. He was making them stop the run. They couldn't. We just kept running it down their throats. I love the play design as well, where he does have a lot of those 49ers concepts. So you'll see sometimes like Zach Wilson will come out and like you'll see like pistol, you'll see motion. I love the package they come out in when they have Michael Carter and Breece Hall on the field at the same time. That was the Breece Hall like 34-yard touchdown run where I believe Wilson was under center. He was either under center or in pistol. But he gets it. He like rotates all the way around, fakes a pitch to Michael Carter one way, hands it off to Breece Hall on the other side of the formation. And it was actually supposed to be a reverse pass where like Breece Hall was supposed to go into the flat and then throw it back to Wilson or Carter or somebody. Instead, I think the defensive end came upfield, so sort of cut off, the outside for him. And he just, cut upfield, ran it in for a score. It's just amazing. It's beautiful. We're having guys pull. Dwayne Brown, our like 38-year-old right tackle, is getting out in the flat and like being a lead blocker downfield. It's amazing. What a win. 7.5-point underdogs in Lambeau. We win. Draft class looks amazing, right? The same old Jets thing. And this goes for like Dynasty and just having a better team in the future. We have the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year in Breece. Favorite for Defensive Rookie of the Year in Sauce Gardner. We have Garrett Wilson, who hasn't flashed. We'll talk about him in a second. That's more so because of Zach Wilson. We are building things. This feels like the best draft class we've had in a long, long time. You had Sauce Gardner, who led up 6 targets for 1 catch, 8 yards, a 39.6 rating allowed to Aaron Rodgers. Really, really fun. Now, that means we have to talk about the bad. And the bad is tough, man. We have I'm not going to say Antonio Brown, not even going to say OBJ. I don't think that this was actually that problematic. It got a lot of buzz on Twitter. Here's the bad. Elijah Moore, 0 targets, and he's disgruntled. Like, it almost feels like Madden, like when you're trying to keep everybody happy, or like franchise type games when like you have the team morale. Elijah Moore's morale right now is low. He tweeted this out. So Rich Kamini, he's a Jets beat reporter who I kind of hate. He said, of all the eye-popping stats and factoids today, this one is hard to understand. Elijah Moore, 0 targets, #Jets. He said, if I say what I really want to say, I'll be the selfish guy. We winning, grateful, huge blessing, all I ever wanted. Bittersweet for him, but I'll be solid, so I'll just stay quiet. Just know I don't understand either. He only had a 66.7% route participation, which has really come down since being like the 80-90% plus territory beginning of the year. That's not good. I kind of understand the frustration here, right? He was amazing last year. He should be getting involved more. He hasn't been getting involved as much as he should be, but we're winning games. So it's a little bit, it's like you said, bittersweet. And it's tough to really put anything on the floor, the coaching staff, because again, they're winning games, they're running the ball, they're doing things a different way than Elijah Moore would like, but it's ending up in wins. Also, this was a team that was really soft against the run. Their ninth best, or the Packers defense is the ninth best pass DVOA defense. After this weekend, they're the 32nd DVOA run defense. So it's just kind of how the game plan worked out. Corey Davis is a big physical wide receiver. He's our best run blocker. So it just was kind of a game script that schemed Elijah Moore out, but it does suck. Now, it's going to be tough to say moving forward that this pass game produces a ton. They have really thinned things out. You're getting CJ Uzomah targets. You're getting Barrios targets. You're getting did I say Uzomah? You're getting Tyler Conklin targets. You're getting Michael Carter targets. Things get spread really, really thin. It's going to be tough if Zach Wilson doesn't get better. He had, right, that's the other bad here, is he had his worst game as a pro since last year. He had a 38 PFF passing grade. It was like the worst of the week. It was the first time he was under 200 passing yards this season. First time he was under 7 yards per attempt. 55% completion percentage wasn't good. PFF grade was just absolutely tanked. Really, really not good. I do think long-term, these pass catchers are super talented. I'm not giving up on Zach Wilson after 3 games back, but this one is really, really tough to swallow in terms of the ceiling of this team and kind of what Zach Wilson can be for this team moving forward as the franchise quarterback. It's tough. I will say on the bright side, Garrett Wilson, I'm not panicking at all. He had a 31% target per out run. He led the entire team in targets. When you have 110 passing yards on the day, no one's really going to eat up for fantasy. Now, our next takeaway is going to be Kenneth Walker here. Kenneth Walker is a madman. He's a madman. I'm very, very excited to see how Kenneth Walker kind of pans out. He has this crazy like running style. I think Josh Norris over at Underdog was saying something on the lines of like, or him and Hayden were both saying like he's almost like Shady McCoy in a way that he just moves very different in terms of like forcing missed tackles, big plays, just like him in open space. He just has like the only way I could really explain is he has different animations, right? If we're playing like 2K or Madden, he just has weird animations in his bag, and it's really, really fun to watch. He is now in a full-time role. He is the RB7 on the week. He was 21 rushes for 97 yards. He had 3 targets, 2 catches, 13 yards through the air, 13 targets, 10% target share for a team that doesn't pass to the running backs, and for a guy in Kenneth Walker who caught like 4 passes in college. That's exciting. 69% snap share. He had 24 of 26 running back opportunities. He also had 12 missed tackles forced this week. The next highest missed tackles forced this week was Khalil Herbert at 5. So he just makes people miss. He's probably a fringe RB1 rest of season. I'll also say in Dynasty. Also, let me know how you guys feel about me having Dynasty takes in these takeaways videos or lessons learned videos. If most of the guys who watch this only play in seasonal, only care about seasonal, please let me know. Because I don't want to talk about stuff that you guys don't care about. But this was fun. This was a spat between me and Kev. And Kev is great, man. Kev gets, heat on Twitter, but he's funny. He, kind of pokes fun at people all the time. He's aggressive with his takes. He's also, as much as he gets dunked on Twitter, he has had his good calls before with Rashad Penny, who looked good before the injury. Me and him used to go back and forth on Ayuk versus Debo last year. He completely creamed me on that one. This one was funny. October 7th, I did my Dynasty Rankings update very recently, right? It was before Rashad Penny got hurt. I was just looking at the landscape of the position, and I saw Kenneth Walker. He's a strong prospect. He's 21 years old. The rest of the landscape is either old and producing. They're going to fall off a value cliff in the offseason, right? You're not going to get – I'd be shocked if you could get a 23 first for Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Kamara, Derrick Henry. after the season's over and they're not scoring points for you anymore. So my thought with having Kenneth Walker at all the way at RB6, that was really high at the time. His ADP around then was like RB17 to RB22 range. It was before Rashad Penny got hurt. It was before he really did much. But just on the idea that he's young, all he has to do is show some flashes. We've seen ETN. He was like the RB8 in the offseason without even touching the ball in his rookie year. We saw with Dobbins. He had like a late season stretch with the Ravens his rookie year. That was enough to propel him. Even with Cam Akers, he had like, a couple of games with 20 carries his rookie year, and then that vaulted him in the offseason. Now, all of those running backs haven't really panned out, but I'm just talking about in terms of value gains from rookie running back season to that offseason. When we look at how dry the running back landscape is, he's like the youngest running back in Dynasty, or like at least like in the top 30. He has the tools. I think that he is someone that is going to be, I don't want to say Chubb, but he's a special runner. He's a special pure rusher, which people will always gravitate towards if he is like, in terms of real life perspective, right? So like rushing prowess, I guess you would call it, like Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb. If Kenneth Walker gets into that conversation on top of having second round draft capital, being a guy that everybody wants to succeed, it wouldn't take a ton for him to be like a top 6 running back in Dynasty in the offseason. But now, I ran pretty pure after tweeting that out and making that a Dynasty ranking. Penny gets hurt. Walker comes in as the full bell cow, looks amazing. Keep trade cut right now. He's like RB6, RB7. So I did dunk on Kev here after. He's a big Penny guy. So when he saw this take, he was not happy about it. He hit me with the what, how picture after I tweeted that. So that was fun to kind of pull a receipt on him this morning. But again, no bad blood at all towards Kev. He's a good guy. Third takeaway. This Rams offense. It's not bad or anything, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, it just feels like the Rams offense just feels like you're walking around in like a clown mirror maze, whatever they call that. You know what I mean? It's just so confusing every week. Now, this is what we're looking at for this backfield. We're looking at a 3-headed backfield, Darrell Henderson, Malcolm Brown, revived Malcolm Brown here, and Ronnie Rivers, and they still cannot run the ball. I don't know how much of it is these running backs just being garbage and how much it is this offensive line being pretty bad. Henderson had 3.6 yards per carry. Malcolm Brown had 2.1. Rivers had 0 yards per carry. All ugly. Henderson he was the lead guy, 71% snap share, 15 of 25 touches. You want more than that, though. You want him to be like in the 80% plus range across the board. He's not like dominating carries or anything. He didn't look amazing. We hope that Henderson role can grow. I will say I wouldn't be shocked if McVay like trades for a running back at this point. I think as well. Like Akers, I think Akers might have played his last down for the Rams. He might have played his last down altogether. Look, I'm not trying to get crucified here. It does just seem like he lost a step. And if him and the Rams are having problems and he's not going to play for the Rams, I don't know who would go trade for him. I will say he's young, right? He's like only 22, so he has youth on his side. But it is really sad, coming off the Achilles, he doesn't look as like spry and as explosive as he once was. It's tough. The Rams running back situation is really bad though. Like the running backs for the Rams are like they need a good running game to win games, if that makes sense. Like they aren't a team that just passes the ball a ton, especially with Stafford hasn't looked that great this season. I think he had like 1 touchdown and an interception again, like 250 yards. Not amazing. I will also say we'll touch on Allen Robinson here, who looked good. He had 5 catches, 63 yards, a touchdown. He had a startable week when nobody probably started him. 20% plus target per out run, over 2 yards per out run. Pretty impressive. J.C. Horn was hurt. The Panthers like number 1-ish corner. Still promising. I lean on the side of selling long term if I can sell, just this little flash in the pan. Stafford doesn't look great. You have the rumors of possibly OBJ coming in there. Higbee also had a quiet game. He had like 60% route participation, like 2 targets. I think that comes up. So we'll see. It's a step in the right direction for Allen Robinson at the very least. Then I have my 4th takeaway, which is, to put it lightly, is Tom Brady ass? ? He loses as 8-point favorites to a bad Steelers team. And it was pretty funny. There was like a clip of him like screaming on the sideline at these offensive linemen. And the offensive line wasn't really that bad today. As much as like they've had injuries and they haven't been great all season, he was only pressured on like 21.4% of his dropbacks, which was 5th best among quarterbacks with 10 or more dropbacks this week. He wasn't under pressure all that much. He just hasn't been efficient, and he hasn't really been pushing the ball downfield. He's 24th in ADOT right now, and he's 25th in yards per attempt with 6.7. It's not great. It's not good. This is also a really good tweet that Bean Counter pulled out I want to say it was yesterday, and I actually wasn't even aware of these splits at all, but Tom Brady with and without Rob Gronkowski is pretty funny. 140 games with him, 23.5 PPR points versus 18.7 without him, 0.54 INTs, or 9 touchdown pace with Gronk, 12 without, 38 touchdown pace with Gronk, 30 without, 7.9 yards per attempt, 7.14 yards per attempt without, almost a 5,000 yard pace with him, like a 4,000 yard pace without him. 18.7 points is still usable as your QB1, but that's going to be like a back end QB1 number. I do think Brady bounces back in some way. He is still Tom Brady. It's really just like he has so much in real life shit going on, man. I think he went to like a wedding on Friday. He just got divorced. Like he didn't practice. Like I don't know, man. I don't know. I think you just gotta cross your fingers that Brady could retire at any point right now. Like if it gets to a spot, and I don't think it will. If the Bucks let's say the Bucks are no longer in the playoff hunt and it's a lost year, like he might just say, all right, that's it, fellas. But I will say, I think he bounces back somewhat. I think he needs some more efficiency from his wide receivers. Godwin saw 12 targets, only turned it into 6 catches for 93 yards. I think in a normal day that could have been like 10 for 135 and a touchdown, or like 10 for 150 and a touchdown. So we'll see. He has his weapons. Better days should be ahead. Maybe Gronk comes back and helps him out. We'll see. But yeah, I wouldn't fully panic on this passing defense just yet, or passing offense just yet. Now, also, let me know where you guys want me to put these rookie wide receiver report. For this one, we're going to go halfway. We'll do this as our fifth takeaway here. I think halfway mark is good for the rookie wide receiver report. This is all rookie wide receivers outside of Dennis Houston. I'm not putting Dennis Houston on here. With minimum 5 targets, sorted by their week 6 route percentage. Now, I think actually just to make this less confusing, I'm going to put it here so you guys can't see the guys who are out or injured. And I will say, no rookie wide receiver really stood out today. No one had over 50 receiving yards, but we'll still go through everything. Drake London, still top dog. Arthur Smith just isn't really creating a good environment for him. He had a 30% target per out run. He had on the season, he has a 2.23 yards per out run. Still an 85 plus PFF grade. He's elite. Still a top 5 wide receiver in Dynasty for me. If anybody's budging on that and you can get him for like wide receiver 12 type prices, I'm buying that all day long. We'll also talk about Romeo Doubs, who's still a starter, right? He's seeing 95% of the routes, 87% of the routes, 95% of the routes. He's a starter, but the efficiency has been pretty bad. He has a low ADOT, and Aaron Rodgers hasn't been that great this year. 1.23 yards per out run is not good, and a 58.7 PFF grade is like worse than guys like Tyquan Thornton, Alec Pierce. It's only better on this list than David Bell. So it's still early, still working with a really small sample size. I'm not giving up on him per se. I think he's going to be fine in seasonal, right? He's Rodgers' like number 2 wide receiver. He should be good. He's getting all the routes, but in terms of like long-term asset and dynasty, the ceiling is definitely starting to lower. Like day 3 guy, the yards per out run isn't great. The PFF grade isn't great. Still a ton of time for him to improve, but stock down in dynasty, but still fine in seasonal. Then we have Alec Pierce. His route percentage sadly stalled out. We were pretty excited about him last week. Went from 41% of the routes to 75%, and then down to 70%. I wouldn't say that that's really a downgrade. It's really just more no improvement. His route percentage took a hit. His target per out run took a hit. He's now below 20% target per out run for the first time this year. He's below a 2 yards per out run for the first time this year. His PFF grade took a hit down to 63.5. Tough. I think for seasonal, Pierce is still an interesting dart throw. I think for dynasty, just, slow your roll ever so slightly. He's still not a face planner, which means like all these guys are still a ton of time left. We'll also talk about Tyquan Thornton and Wan'Dale Robinson, new additions to the rookie wide receiver report. Both of them now have 5 or more targets on the year here. And when we talk about Wan'Dale Robinson, fellas, we're going to talk about him in the waiver wire video on Tuesday as well. But get extremely excited about Wan'Dale Robinson. This is a small sample, but we're talking about a guy with second-round draft capital who's the only rookie wide receiver not named Drake London, with a 30% or better target per out run, a 2-yard or better yards per out run, and a 75 or better PFF grade. He only ran 34% of the routes, but this role is going to expand. There's no way that there's no way that Dable saw Wan'Dale this week and was like, all right, we're not going to use him. He scored a touchdown. They won against the Ravens, and their top wide receivers are like David Sills, Marcus Johnson. So Wan'Dale Robinson's going to work himself in. It really just comes down to, I imagine he has a slot role on lock. It really just comes down to if he can be trusted on the outside in 2 wide receiver sets. Regardless, this Giants team looks amazing. We want pieces of this offense. Wan'Dale Robinson has all the upside in the world. Now we also have Tyquan Thornton. I'm not as excited about. Also a second-round rookie, but I will say he's better. He has been better than our expectations at the very least from a dynasty standpoint, or just from a rookie scouting standpoint. 4 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown this week. He has a 20% target per out run. Efficiency is not great, 1.1 yards per out run, only a 63.9 PFF grade. But I mean, for a guy that no one had any expectations for, he looks good. He's not face planting. He's like playing all right. He's doing his thing. And I will say, a guy who I will say is definitively face planting if he does not turn something around, which I wouldn't really bet on him turning something around here. David Bell. Now, his route percentage is ticking up, right? 29%, 44%, 67%. So that's interesting. But my God, man. 8.1% target, like red across the board. 8.1% target per out run, 0.67 yards per out run, 51.7 PFF grade. No bueno. No bueno for David Bell. My God, man. And I was a David Bell guy coming out. I was hoping that he's going to be all right, but it's not looking good at all. Now, Garrett Wilson's route percentage is coming down here. Again, I do think that part of the game plan was running the ball. Corey Davis got involved more, but I also think Zach Wilson just trusts Corey Davis a lot. Regardless, though, since Zach Wilson took over, he has led the team in targets, Garrett Wilson. He has a 24.6% target per out run on the entire year. I'm still very bullish, right? He's still commanding targets. The efficiency isn't there, but I would really put the efficiency more so on Joe Flacco and Wilson than I would put the efficiency on Garrett Wilson. He still has like a 75 plus PFF grade. He has a nice target per out run. He's still somebody I'm bullish on long term. For seasonal, again, that Jets passing game might be rough for fantasy, but they might have to pass more as, maybe they sort of regress a little bit. Maybe they get some tougher opponents. I think that they're playing the Broncos next week, so that could be maybe not shootout, but a game where they pass the ball more. Let's talk about Sky Moore, who hasn't improved his route percentage, which sucks, right? Where he's 26%, 29%, 27%. He keeps playing right around the same amount, but his efficiency is great. He has a 20% plus target per out run. He has a 2+ yards per out run. He's a 73.9 PFF grade. He looks good. He's not a face planner yet. He just needs to get more routes ASAP. We'll also talk about Khalil Shakur, who sadly had a great week last week, but then he gets relegated back behind Isaiah McKenzie, where he goes from a 71.8% route participation to a 20%. Still at a 70 plus PFF grade, still at a 70 plus PFF grade. Still looks good in terms of his efficiency, but he's probably not going to get that full on role for a while in terms of long term. But he does feel like a Gabe Davis, where I think that Gabe Davis was a round 3 guy. He could have been round 4. But day 3 guy that's kind of getting, brought up by the Bills, looks good in flashes. Year 3, year 4, Khalil Shakur could be somebody we're starting every week in our fantasy lineups. 6th takeaway here. I did this. I wrote this down as the Kyle Pitts temperature check / Falcons pass environment is brutal. It's just, I get it. I know there's going to be people in my comments saying you can't keep on ripping Arthur Smith. He's winning these games. He's covering the spread. Look, I'm frustrated. They ran the ball 39 times with Tyler Algier, Caleb Huntley, and Marcus Mariota. They only had 17 dropbacks. Now, on the bright side, London had a 100% route participation. Pitts had like an 82% route participation. They both had north of a 20% target share. There just wasn't enough volume to support them. And they won't have enough volume to be supported with Arthur Smith calling games. It's just so tough. Jacob Sanderson had a good tweet on it earlier. To all of you guys who are like, oh, well, Arthur Smith is winning games. Yes, they're winning games with Marcus Mariota at quarterback. Their ceiling is like 7th seed, get bumped out in the first round of the playoffs. I don't really understand when you have a team like this that's going to have Calvin Ridley next year. So like you're looking at Calvin Ridley, Pitts, London, and then the only thing you're really looking at on offense is who the hell is going to be our quarterback? It's not going to be Mariota. Probably won't be Ritter, and we won't know if it's going to be Ritter if they keep winning games and they can't see Ritter play, right? And then if that happens, and they're like the 15th, 16th, 17th overall pick next year, like the 20th overall pick, they then can't use a draft pick to go out there and get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. So they're just winning games for the sake of being mediocre, not getting the quarterback of the future, just winning games to win games. And I'm not saying that you need to tank in the NFL, like deliberately tank, but him grinding out victories like this, I don't get why it's being like celebrated and applauded. He's not like the long-term outlook of the franchise is getting hurt by winning these games. Though they have the Bengals and they have the Chargers in 2 of their next 3. Those are 2 teams that might lure them into passing the ball more, which could pump our Pitts and London stocks. Long-term in Dynasty, I think they're both I think Pitts is the tight end 1 in Dynasty. I think that Drake London is like the wide receiver 4 in Dynasty. So long term, still very much bullish, but in terms of seasonal, they both are taking a hit if Arthur Smith keeps doing this. Next, we have Rhamondre Smith dominates, and there's no other role for those other running backs, where a big concern for me coming into this game was, Pierre Strong gets elevated, maybe J.J. Taylor gets elevated. I will also say, dude, Kevin Harris, a guy we liked in Dynasty offseason, I think I dropped him in one spot, but I have him in a lot of leagues. He goes to the practice squad after he's drafted. He gets called up for the first time, and he has 17% of the snaps, which is pretty good. Three touches as well. It's not a lot, of course, but for Dynasty, that's good, right? He's making the team, or not making the team, but he's getting activated, he's getting touches. It's interesting. Now, when we talk about Rhamondre Stevenson, the guy is a menace. He was the clear lead. He didn't open the door really for anyone else. He had 24 of 27 touches. He had 19 carries, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 targets, 4 catches, 15 yards, 25 points. He's the RB7 since week 3. Really, really exciting stuff for Rhamondre. Just keep an eye out for Ty Montgomery coming back next week, or if not next week, then whenever he comes back. That will be the true litmus test of, is Rhamondre Stevenson permanently the lead guy, at least until Damian Harris is back in the lineup. Now, I'll also say Bailey Zappe looks kind of good, man. I really don't know how to feel about him in Dynasty at this point. I think that he's a day 3 guy, but among 30 qualified quarterbacks in week 6, he was 6th in passing grade. He was 5th in yards per attempt. That's pretty dang solid. 300 plus passing yards in a game versus the Browns. No. It was the Browns this week. Downside, though, he was 18th in ADOT at 6.3. He had 0 big-time throws. So it seems like he's even kind of game manager-ish like Mac Jones, but that could just be the scheme. Our 8th takeaway. ETN versus J-Rob. ETN looks good, man. ETN looks good. ETN, again, for like the 3rd straight week. Yeah, ETN for the 3rd straight week is out-snapping James Robinson. He's averaging 10.1 PPR points per game over that span. James Robinson is averaging 5.1. ETN is 5th in the NFL in rushing yards over expected per attempt. He's 6th in yards per carry. He's 5th in PFF rush grade. James Robinson in those same metrics, 29th in rushing yard over expectation per attempt, 25th in yards per carry, 30th in rush grade. ETN at this point has been more efficient. He's shown more flashes. He's looked better. And the Jaguars are no longer the team that they were in the first 3 weeks where they're blowing teams out for no reason. And because they're not having those leading game scripts, ETN is getting more volume. He's getting more snaps as this passing down and back. And if he's going to be this efficient, where I want to say he had over like 50 yards from scrimmage in just like the first drive or two, he looked amazing. He pops off like these huge splash plays all the time. He's making plays. He looks good. He has the upside here where if James Robinson kind of, craps out a little bit here, the efficiency hasn't been great for him. We've seen Akers now looks terrible. James Robinson looked decent in the first 2-3 weeks, but hasn't really looked good since then. There's upside here for ETN to carve out a role, which would be very interesting. I think James Robinson now is a tough start in games where the Jaguars aren't favored, which are probably 90% of their games. Then our 9th takeaway is the Ravens backfield, which is not good. J.K. Dobbins had, or not that the Ravens backfield isn't good, but it's not good for J.K. Dobbins. He had 1.5 points. Kenyon Drake ended up with 10 attempts, 119 rushing yards, and a touchdown for 19.7 points. It's rough. J.K. Dobbins had 27% of the snaps, 40% of the carries, only 7 carries, 39% of the touches, a route on 17% of dropbacks. You probably can't start Dobbins at this current juncture until things get better. Now, our last takeaway here, takeaway number 10, and it's pretty sad because it's one of the best calls we've had this season that the Eagles' offense was going to be good. Jalen Hurts was going to be good. Brown would be good. Devonta Smith would be good. Goddard would be good. And they all have been good. The thing that kind of sucks, and it's a little bit of, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely rains on our parade a little bit. The Eagles might just be too good for fantasy. They're now 6-0. They're dominating teams. And they go from a team that was 7th highest in pass rate over expectation in the first week. They had 42 dropbacks. Since then, only 3 of their 6 games have had over 40 dropbacks. Their other 3 have been 30 dropbacks, 30, 38. They're 24th in pass attempts. We thought they would be super pass heavy, and I think that they would like to be super pass heavy, but they're winning so many games, right? They're 6-0. Their defense is so good. Their team is so good that the game scripts are against us in terms of trying to get shootouts and high-scoring games. So it's not a huge damper, right? Brown still had 17, Devonta Smith still had 15, but the ceiling for those like massive, massive spike weeks is a little bit lower unless they get weird scripts, just like football happens. But their next, I don't know, like 8 games is bye week: Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants. I can't imagine that they're not favored in all of those. So it's going to be tough to see the Eagles be in a spot where they need to have a shootout with anybody. This is also their neutral pass rate, where they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 8th lowest in neutral pass rate the last 4 weeks. Not good for our Eagles passing game shares. Again, they're still producing. They're still going to be efficient. There's going to be a lot of efficiency in this offense, but the volume doesn't seem like it's going to hit. And it's not because they want to run the ball, like a lot of people were saying, but it's because their defense is so good. They're not in game scripts where they have to pass the ball and air it out. Hopefully we get some like lucky games where that changes, but we'll see. That's it for today. Another top 10 takeaways video in the bag as always. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching till the end. If you enjoyed, make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you guys in the next one.
I got the juice, I got the juice. 10-0, Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home. Even my haters kinda glad I'm on. Rest in peace to my vagabond. Rapper, song, singer, suspended, subpoena from Mr. Meaner.